Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Reckless Paradise podcast. My name is Dystro, and I am all by myself tonight because it is another Deep Talks with Dystro episode. Um, Thank you for joining me tonight. Tonight's episode is going to be all about like how I coped with um, my mental health through therapy. Let me just shout out Marissa sometimes. She's a wonderful co-host of mine, so shout out to her. She wasn't sick or anything. It's just because I have my own solo episode tonight. Next week she has her own solo episode, so it's a good way to end the month on a high note. Also, thank you for joining me tonight. Hope you sit back and enjoy the tips and tricks that I'm probably going to share with you. Probably don't know how long it's going to be, but let's get right into it. So, when I went through therapy when I was younger, when I was in um, middle school, I had started in the eighth grade, and I was living in Tennessee at the time, and um, just had to talk to somebody outside my family. And it's good to always talk to somebody outside your family. That's probably not like, your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, brothers, sisters, and stuff. Just talking to a complete stranger every once in a while, it's like, it's not a bad thing. But in my case was with my therapist. Awesome dude. Name is Dion. He helped me try to talk through my problems about my dad when he had left me and my mom when I was younger, um, and helped me try to cope with them and learn about like socializing through my anxiety, which is another key point of me too. Like I had anxiety when I was growing up, and I was on meds for them and all that stuff, and now, like many years later, I don't have hardly anxiety anymore, because I had overcome it, and you can too, and I promise you that. Um, but I have some key, like, things here. Um, it is okay to be afraid of what might come next, because you will never know until you face them head on, which I've learned from an early age. um, Sorry if I'm like kind of like taking pauses to breathe and stuff. It's kind of hard to do that by yourself with nobody else to bounce off of. So pardon me for that. Um, it's also okay to confide in somebody that, like I said before, that is like outside your social circle, like maybe friends, like loved ones sometimes, but it's always good to have that person that you can always go back and confide in and all that stuff. And um, another technique that I had learned along the way was the social butterfly technique. Um, sorry. With the social butterfly technique, it's like you have to learn to build up the courage to talk to whoever you wanted to. Like, say it's like a crush, or if it's like that one friend that you really want to be friends with, but you'd never had the courage to talk to them about, or like I said before, a crush. And in my case, I had a school dance coming up when I was in eighth grade, and I had to really work up the courage to basically ask some of these girls out, and they had all said no. At least I had worked up the courage to ask them. I mean, yeah, like, they rejected me, but at least I worked up the courage and was not anxious. And I was anxious before because I was like, I would think, like, like maybe they won't like me, maybe they would be like, ew, no, or they'll probably have another date or whatever and stuff like that. It's like at least you actually had to work up the courage and talk to that person, because you never know, because like they could be going through the exact same thing that you are going through, and you two can bond over that connection and help each other work through that um, trouble, um, and help each other out, and you can build a good friendship off of that. When I was in that situation, I was trying to like work up the courage to talk to Marissa. Probably gonna reference Marissa throughout most of this because it's like she's a good friend of mine. She's my best friend. It's like in like one day it's like hopefully I can go back up to see her. Hopefully, um, but like I had to work up the courage to like talk to her like and send the message first because it's like not a lot of people do that nowadays. But let's see, you could always talk or write your problems out on paper and like in a journal. And if you do that, it's like if you tell them, like if you write out your problems and all that stuff, yeah, like it keeps it bottled up inside, but at least you're putting pen to paper. And writing out your problems actually helps like with your creative mindset in my aspect of it. It's it lets your creative freedom out. And it's like writing an essay or writing a sentence or whatever. I'm probably not making any sense with that, but just bear with me. My therapist had told me about that, and he said like writing it on paper actually like helps out with your anxiety sometimes, because it's like if you put pen to paper, it actually helps ease your mind, and it actually declouds your mind. And so like when you give that pad of paper to your therapist the next time when you have a session, they can actually help you, and they'll actually help you on those problems that you written down on paper. Be like, okay, look, let's work on this, let's work on that, let's work on this, work on that. And it's like they're there to help you. And a lot of these therapists, like they are very caring. They are very, like they will talk with you, and they'll sit down and just talk with you, just being like one on one, no outside interference or anything, no distractions, no nothing. Um, it was like that with my therapist. Like we would bond on certain things, but then we'll go back to that session, and then we'll compress those thoughts and opinions into that session. Um, which it's like it's cool for me because it gets me out of my comfort zone. And outside my comfort zone is like it's like kind of like shark infested water for me. It's like I don't really like to get out of my comfort zone, but then once I opened up and all that stuff, it's like he, like it's like I let him in, and he, like just tried to help me as best he could. And I had him from 8th grade all the way up till I graduated, so it was like 5 years, like 4 or 5 years of high school of school. Excuse me. And therapy is there for you in all stages of life. So like when you're like wee lad, when you're a wee lad, like, and it's like you could still go to a therapist when you're older. It's like because like new problems arise when you are going through like all the stages of life. Like when you're going through school, going through work, college, medical field and all that stuff. You still gotta have that person that you could talk to, and therapy is the best help for some people. It's like telling an alcoholic go to AA, or like with like some people like they need to quit smoking, so they go to like like a meeting about smoking and how to try to quit it and stuff. And it's like you have that social circle outside of your family to confide in, and learn some tips and tricks from, which is good. And and you make friends that way. And it's it's good to always have that. Like I said at the beginning of this review or episode, I'm probably gonna be rambling a lot because I'm trying to stretch out time. So sorry about that in advance. But I've always had that outlet to express myself kind of creatively and emotionally. And I mean, sure enough, I've had anxiety attacks before, and it's like it's it's actually it's not common. It wasn't common in my case, but I've learned through my therapist being like, take some deep breaths, tell that voice inside your head, like you're not welcome here, and being like, positive mindset, and it just actually works like every time. Like sometimes, like I'll be like, man, I can't, ace that test. But then if you have that positive mindset, you can ace that test or just do what you can. And do what you can is the best thing. And it's okay to fail. You can just, dust yourself off, pick yourself back up, and try harder the next day. But it's like if you don't do that, it's like you never learn how to fail. And that's like kind of like one of the main key points that I want you guys to take away from this episode tonight. And learning to fail is a big, big key factor in life. Because without failure, it's not progress. And without progress, it's not achievement or achieving something. Um, so my podcast partner and I know this is completely off topic, but I had to reference this. So my podcast partner and I, we just finished the Jeanette McCurdy, Jeanette McCurdy book called "I'm Glad My Mom Died," and we just finished it last night. It is a really, really good book. We both highly recommend it. Um, it goes through like all her trauma, like from when she was a little girl all the way up to adulthood. How she got on Nickelodeon with the Dan Schneider stuff. Her mom was mentally and kind of physically abusing her in some aspects. Kind of just putting that mindset in her, being like, my daughter's only gonna be an actor or an actress, and that's all she's ever gonna be, instead of being like a writer or what she wants to be. And it's kind of, it's kind of messed up. Each chapter is kind of like really short in that some aspects. Which I mean, it's pretty good because like we got through most, like a lot of these chapters within like the day. Um, and I don't know if you guys can hear that. Probably can't hear it, but it's raining outside right now. But it's like it told her life story to a T, and I mean, you got a feel for Jeanette McCurdy, like, because she's been through so much when she was younger, um, learning, like, as an adult, like, her dad wasn't her really biological dad. Her dad was a musician that played in a band, playing the trombone, um, and, like, how she had to deal with her mom, deal with her coping mechanisms, making her feel happy, while simultaneously trying to make herself feel happy as a kid, and like her family and all that stuff. And it's a really good book. I highly recommend it. Me and Marissa, now we're starting, well, I'm starting, I don't know if she is already, but I'm starting the uh, autobiography of Brian Johnson, the lead singer of AC/DC. It's called the Life of Brian. I believe so. Let me look real quick. Sorry, guys. The Lives of Brian, memoir, and it's really good so far. I'm on like chapter 5 right now, and it's like it'll probably take me like a few weeks to get through it, but it's gonna be another book that I checked off my list. So, um, but I want you guys to take away from this episode the tips and tricks that I had learned. Even though, yes, I rambled on. I'm sorry about that, but that's just because I don't have anybody to bounce off of. So you get it. I want you guys to take away from this episode tonight the tips and tricks I've learned along the way. But what are your tips and tricks that you have learned through therapy? Leave it in the comments below. Um, so we are at the end of the episode. It's kind of almost 16 minutes ish, so it's kind of relatively kind of like short. It's okay to do a short episode, because it's like I said, it's kind of hard to bounce off somebody. So my podcast host Marissa gave me her song of the night. We are in the middle of the Fall Out Boy pilgrimage right now. We have next week, or well, this week I should say. This week we have Folle Edu. I'm probably pronouncing that completely wrong, but Marissa will probably let me know. Um, and so that is like kind of almost like the longest album, almost in retrospect. We're gonna be listening to that this week, and then the following day on that Thursday of this week, she will probably tell you all about it in her Music Madness episode, which is coming up this Thursday. Um, but before I forget, the song of the night from my podcast host is from Fall Out Boy. It's from Take This to Your Grave. It is called Grand Theft Autumn slash Where Is Your Boy? And that song is really good. Take This to Your Grave. It's good. It's a good debut album for Fall Out Boy. It showed what their sound was back then compared to now, and they were kind of like more like not grungy, but they were kind of like punk grunge if you want to mix the two together. um, but it was like it's a good pilgrimage thus far. Um, we're probably going to tell you all about it within the next month because we're going to be finishing in December. Um, what else? Oh yes. Thank you so much, um, for getting us to 200 subscribers on the podcast channel. We do greatly appreciate it. What a way to end the year, kind of on a high note, for us as a podcast channel. We've been doing this for nearly 2 years, which is freaking amazing. When we first started, it's like it was just two people just wanted to do something, have a little creative outlet, and you look where we are now, almost 2 years later, and we've reached 200 in 2 years, which is, I mean, it's a good milestone. It's a good thing. Um, but before I forget, um, please go subscribe to the podcast channel if you do. We do greatly appreciate it. Also, check out my channel down below. It's probably in the link tree. We have a Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, uh, TikTok, my TikTok, her TikTok. Go follow her lives as well. She will be doing the making of sometimes during podcast nights. So she'll probably do it like Sundays. I think that's what she said. Go follow her on TikTok. Go follow me on TikTok. Go follow us everywhere. Also, before I forget, um, my YouTube channel is at 1,051 subscribers right now, so I do greatly appreciate it. There will be some more content coming within, like the coming weeks and all that stuff. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you. Well, I won't see you guys. Marissa will see you guys this Thursday for Music Madness. Peace.